Spotless Record wants you to believe Thomas caused this accident.
He'll never stop the trucks from singing.
True, Thomas gave bad advice, but that's not how responsibility works. When you break this episode down, Thomas gets blamed for a crash he didn't cause. Thomas really gets unfairly blamed more than I thought. I made that very argument in Thomas Comes to Breakfast, and it's even more evident here. Let's be clear about what Thomas actually did. Thomas's only role in Arthur's accident is telling him that Sir Topham Hatt does not like the freight car singing and that Arthur has to stop them.
The Fat Controller doesn't like the trucks singing, said Thomas. You must stop them.
That's it. Thomas did not tell Arthur how to stop them. Thomas didn't order Arthur to push the trucks, and Thomas was not ordered to supervise Arthur. You might try to argue that Thomas started it, but starting a chain of events isn't the same as being responsible for how someone else handles his train. Arthur made the operating decisions. Arthur chose to push the freight cars, something railways always avoid unless absolutely necessary. Arthur was the one in control as they went downhill, and Arthur was the one who failed to take proper care. Now let's talk about this episode's title, because this is where the logic really starts to fall apart. Arthur is introduced as having a spotless record, but that claim only means something if Arthur had been working long enough for it to matter. Going for a single day without an accident isn't impressive. Even Percy can manage that. So for the spotless record to be meaningful, Arthur must have gone a significant amount of time without an accident. And if that's true, then Arthur should have had the experience to know exactly how dangerous troublesome trucks can be. But this episode shows the opposite. Arthur expects the trucks to cooperate simply because he tells them to.
Stop singing, huffed Arthur. Trucks should do as they're told.
That's not how troublesome trucks work. Very few engines can keep them under control, and experienced engines know that. So this episode puts us in an impossible position. Either Arthur is experienced, in which case he should have known better, or Arthur is inexperienced, in which case his spotless record means nothing. And finally, there's one more detail the episode completely ignores. Thomas is not Arthur's boss. Sir Topham Hatt is. Arthur took Thomas's comment without question, never checked with Sir Topham Hatt, and never considered another approach. That decision was Arthur's, and so was the accident. Now, the episode tries to argue that, but for Thomas's comment, the accident would never have happened. I don't buy that. Yes, Thomas played a minor role, I'm not denying that, but what Thomas did is not enough to make the accident his fault. The episode has Thomas admit that it was his fault, but that is more akin to the writing than to the facts of the case. Thomas feeling guilty isn't the same thing as responsibility. The show has a habit of making Thomas apologize to wrap up a story, whether it makes sense or not. This was Arthur's train. Arthur made the decision, and Arthur is the one that the episode tells us has a spotless record. If the spotless record actually means something, then Arthur should have known better than to push troublesome trucks over a long distance. And if it doesn't mean anything, then the episode has no business using it to excuse him. Either way, responsibility does not land on Thomas. This accident was Arthur's fault, not because Thomas was perfect, but because Arthur was the one in control.